Bonjour classe, aujourd'hui on va parler du chapitre 6. Amusons-nous. Donc, dans le chapitre 6, on va parler de making plans, things around town, fun things. D'accord, on va commencer avec chapitre 6.1. Dans le chapitre 6.1, on va parler de making plans, things to do, and places to go. Donc, on va commencer. So this looks like a lot of information at first, and I know that. Only pay attention to this up here at the top and then this purple column for now. So we've seen this concept before with our different contractions. We saw this in chapitre 4 avec nos sports et passe-temps, with our sports and our pastimes. And we said that we had our jouet expressions, and we said that after our jouet expressions, we have and then we have our different sport. Most of them were masculine. For example, le football, jouer le football. And we said and le, we can't have them right next to each other, so we need to combine them into o, jouer au football. So we're taking this concept, this and this le becomes o, and we're applying it now instead of to sports, we're now applying it to different places around town. So here are, at the top of your notes, you have to masculine places right here. These are your masculine places. Répétez-moi s'il vous plaît. Au restaurant. Au cinéma. Au parc. Au stade. Au zoo. Au centre commercial. That is your shopping mall. To the mall. Au musée. Au théâtre. We're going to talk about the rest of this in just a moment. All right, and we said back when we were learning our jouet expressions that and la stay the same. We don't need to mess with it. There's no contraction with la. So these are your feminine places around town. Répétez-moi s'il vous plaît. À la plage. À la piscine. This is the beach. This is the pool. La plage is your beach. La piscine is your pool. Répétez-moi à la maison des jeunes. À la bibliothèque. We've seen La Maison des Jeunes before. We learned it in chapitre 2, I believe. 2 et 3. Je pense que c'est 2. Chapitre 2. We learned about La Maison des Jeunes. We talked about how at schools in France, they don't really have any extracurricular activities, none of the fun things, dances or anything like that. And a lot of those events go on at the, there's like a youth center, and it's called La Maison des Jeunes. So here we have the youth center at the youth center, to the youth center, à la Maison des Jeunes. D'accord. Moving on to your making plans. Making plans. I'm going. It's up there at the top in blue. Répétez-moi s'il vous plaît. Je vais. And then we have our different activities. Répétez-moi s'il vous plaît. Regardez un match. Now, if you wanted to be really specific, you could even add more information to this. Regardez un match de football. Regardez un match de tennis. Regardez un match de hockey. So on and so forth. Répétez-moi s'il vous plaît. Manger quelque chose. This quelque chose is just the word something. Just nothing in particular, something in general. Something. Manger quelque chose. Répétez-moi s'il vous plaît. Voir un film. Voir une pièce. Faire une promenade. Faire les vitrines. Faire un pique-nique. Aller à une boum. All right, more on our making plans. This is your second column. Sorry for the bell. This is your second column under the making plans category, making plans section, rather. So we have two ways to ask, what are you going to do? Répétez-moi, s'il vous plaît. Qu'est-ce que tu vas faire? Tu vas faire quoi? And then you can add more information to that as well. And I would like you to write these down in your notes. Tu vas faire quoi après l'école? Qu'est-ce que tu vas faire demain? Tu vas faire quoi ce weekend? So what are you going to do after school? What are you going to do tomorrow? What are you going to do this weekend? And then as a response, if you don't want to respond with one of the activities that we're learning, you could always respond with Répétez-moi. Pas grand-chose, rien de spécial. Excellent. Donc, on va continue. This is another concept that we've seen before. Le plus a day of the week means on that day every single week. For example, je fais une promenade le jeudi. We have that noun marker le in front of our day of the week, so we mean I take a walk on Thursdays. Every single Thursday for a long time. I always take a walk on Thursdays. For contrary to that, we have je mange au café vendredi. No noun marker in front of our day of the week. So I'm eating at the cafe Friday. This Friday, only that one time, only that one Friday. Le plus a day of the week. D'accord, down at the bottom of your note sheet, you have a new irregular verb box. And it is aller, and aller means to go. Remember that aller is an irregular verb, so there are no endings. There's no special pattern to memorize. You just have to memorize the way it conjugates. Donc, répétez-moi s'il vous plaît. Je vais, tu vas, il, elle, on va. Nous allons, vous allez, ils, elles vont. Alright, tournez la page s'il vous plaît à la deuxième page de notes. La deuxième page de notes. And we have some information about aller that we need to talk about. So we use aller in two different ways. Our first way, we use it to say where somebody is going. I'm going to a location. For example, I'm going to the pool. Je vais, our verb to go, aller, je vais à la piscine. I'm going to the pool. Our second way to use aller is to talk about the future, to say what somebody is going to do. And our formula is conjugated aller plus an infinitive. Conjugated aller plus an infinitive. For example, I'm going to ride bikes. Je vais faire du vélo. I'm going to ride bikes. Je vais, I'm going to ride bikes, faire du vélo. I'm going to swim. Je vais nager. I'm going to eat. Je vais manger. I'm going to speak. Je vais parler. So on and so forth. Conjugated aller plus an infinitive. All right, lastly, in your notes, we have a review of all of the verbs we know except GER verbs. GER verbs are not in here. You should be able to do this by yourself, but if not, here is, I'm going to go through these with you so that we can go over them together. So, jouer, we have our regular ER verbs. First, we have our regular ER verbs. Our example is going to be jouer, which again means to play. We know lots of regular ER verbs by now. Aimer, adorer, détester, parler, regarder, lots and lots of ER verbs. We're just going to stick with jouer because remember, ER verbs, if you can conjugate one of them, you can conjugate all of them because there's that two-step pattern. So our first step in the two-step pattern is to take the ER off of the infinitive up here so we get our stem of J-O-U, jou. And then we add our memorized endings. O-N-S, E-N-T, hooray. So, répétez-moi s'il vous plaît. Je joue, tu joues, ils, elles, on joue, nous jouons, vous jouez, il, elle joue. Next, we have avoir. And remember, avoir means to have, as in to possess. Remember, avoir pour la possession. And it conjugates like this. This was our first irregular verb that we learned. Répétez-moi s'il vous plaît. J'ai, tu as, il, elle, on a. Nous avons, vous avez, il, elle, on. Excellent. All right, next we have faire. And remember, faire means to do or to make. Répétez-moi. Je fais, tu fais, il, elle, on fait. Nous faisons, vous faites, ils, elles font. And then we have our most recent irregular verb other than aller, which is prendre. We learned prendre in chapitre 5. And remember that prendre means to have food or a drink or a meal. It can also mean to take, as in we saw tu prends le métro, you take the metro. And it conjugates like this. Répétez-moi s'il vous plaît. Je prends, tu prends, il, elle, on prend. Nous prenons, vous prenez, ils, elles prennent. Excellent. Donc, this is all that I have for you today. I hope this video lesson helped you out a whole bunch. Au revoir. À demain.